Okay.
All right. So today I'm going to be going over 10 ways we self-sabotage. I'll share with you funny stories on how I have sabotaged myself for each of these things and ultimately give you advice or just things that I have done to help me overcome some of these things. So the first one is self-sabotage is a lot of different things. It could be self-criticism, negative self-talk, procrastination. So the first one I'm going to go over is procrastination. And an example of this could be that, I'm like I have these goals. Oh, the camera was weird. Okay. I have these goals, but I'm doing something else, right? Let's say like I want to be able to publish a book, but instead I'm scrolling on social media, I'm liking my friend's posts, I'm like watching TV, I'm watching like Singles Infernal or Korean dramas or whatever, right? In my case, a lot of the things that I did to procrastinate is video games. So I would play Diablo 4, I would play StarCraft, and like don't get me wrong, like everything in moderation is good, but like with anything, like if my goal, like let's say I really want to make a book because I think this will impact a lot of different lives. Like let's say the book is on how to love yourself more, but I've been procrastinating that means I'm not gonna be able to reach my goals, right? So the way to overcome that is to instead of think about our ego, which is, oh, what if I publish this book and no one listens, no one watches it, and I only get like five people that read my book? It's like, well, you still were able to impact those five lives that potentially could change the trajectory of their lives, you know? So double down, be clear in your goals, and that will help. Number two is negative self-talk. So this is for people who are always criticizing themselves, they're doubting themselves, they keep comparing themselves to others. And let's say your goal is to be able to create a blog post of and like 10 blog posts over the course of this year in 2024, right? When we listen to our self-talk, in my case, I did not do well in school, and I was better at math. So I didn't really get high SAT scores. So I was like, oh well, I'm never going to be able to be like a good writer, right? And the way we overcome negative self-talk is by just taking one small action. So in this case, just write one blog post. Don't look at the views, don't look at it, but just do it. And then you'll get into the practice, into the habit of writing. And then before you know it, you publish over 300 blog posts. Number three is fear of failure. This is probably the most debilitating out of all the different ones. And I think why this is so debilitating is because we are afraid of judgment. We're afraid of what other people will think of us. So one way to overcome this, I'll give you an example. So I was afraid of um like writing a book because I was like my grammar sucks. Like I'm only 20. I think I published my first book when I was 31. So I'm like, what is it? Why would someone listen to a 31-year-old talking about life, you know? But what made it what how I was able to overcome that was I was like, you know what? Like at that point, I read like 300 books in my life, and I was like, I just love being able to read a book, and it's like, man, like books give me so much joy, so much stories, and like it really helps me stay connected to the world. So, in order to overcome fear of failure, you have to think less about yourself and your ego and more about like the impact that you'll have, which in this case is you publishing that book that can potentially inspire someone or motivate someone or just be able to just you can just be proud of yourself for doing something that takes a lot of hard work. So the next one is perfectionism. That is number four. And the way we overcome perfectionism is this is this is tough because you want to have a high standard for excellence, but you don't want to like think way too much about it, right? Analysis paralysis. So in my case, there's a lot of perfectionism with like just even YouTube, right? Like, oh, I need to get good lighting and I need to like have good microphone and I need to like make sure I'm learning from the best of the best and study all these videos. Yes, that's going to help me, but if I'm overthinking it, I'm never going to be able to impact. And even if it's like 100 views only, like my video, like who cares? Like maybe that person is dealing with depression and dealing with like suicide, and they listen to your video and all of a sudden they become inspired and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna listen to this random Asian kid in New Jersey and I'm gonna like take action, and who knows, his life might be significantly different now because of that one video that you made. Number five is overcommitting. So saying no is really, really, really hard for a lot of people because we don't want to disappoint our family, our spouses, our friends. But when we overcommit, when we take on too much, we burn out and we become exhausted. So in my case, overcommitting, like I would say yes to everything. Like, hey, can you make me a testimonial? I'm trying to grow my business. Or hey, can you buy my book? Or hey, can you attend my birthday party? Like, I miss you. Yeah, that's great. But let's say like I really don't, I just want to take the weekend just to like go hiking or do things I love to do, then that's how we sabotage ourselves, right? Because we're doing everything else for other people, but in reality, like we don't care about all these other things. Like what I actually care about is like, thank God I'm going hiking this weekend because I was like, you know what? Like I love hiking. And even if that means I'm not going to be able to attend family obligations, who cares? At the end of the day, I live in my body, and if I'm not going to be happy, then that's not going to be good for anybody. Number six is avoiding challenges. So it's easy sometimes we stay in our comfort zone, right? Maybe we're comfortable in our home, or we eat our in my case, I was always comfortable eating a lot of food. So if I'm feeling sad, I'm like I eat my comfort food. And then one day I wake up and like, crap, I'm pre-diabetic. I'm eating way too much meat and I'm gaining, my tummy's a little bit big. My wife's rubbing my tummy and she's like, "Oh, I like it. You're 3 months pregnant." Like that's not good. So in order to avoid challenges and to go out my comfort zone, like I had to like hire a nutritionist and I had to go to a doctor, and they're like, Davidson, like you're almost pre-diabetic. Like you gotta like get your shit together. So in order to challenge yourself, just do something that's uncomfortable, right? In my case, like I had to limit my carbs. I had to eat less noodles, eat less rice. So you just want to be able to take small actions to get you to your life and not let laziness overcome what you actually are capable of. Number seven is not setting boundaries. So boundaries is interesting for Asian people, right? Because we have a lot of commitments. We have family is a really big value. We want to take care of our people. But at the end of the day, if I don't let my mom know, like, hey mom, like, I don't appreciate it when you're giving me advice about XYZ, or the reason why I don't come home as often is because, you know, I want to take time and spend precious time with to work on my marriage, or hey, I have hobbies, like I like running on the weekends, and I like hiking, right? She has to respect that. And at the end of the day, like she wants me to be happy, right? So it's just communicating your boundaries and making sure that you know what your boundaries are and not let other people take advantage of your kindness. Number eight is comparing ourselves to others. So there's two ways to look at things. If my friends get promoted, like let's say my friend Ian, let's say he made all this money, like I could either be jealous or I could look at it as like, hey, like I'm proud of the way I'm able to do XYZ, insert whatever it is. Like in my case, it's like, hey, I'm proud that I'm not afraid to make a new video every day. Like that's one thing I'm proud of, right? Instead of like comparing myself to like Alex Hermosi, who has like a million views like within 24 hours, like that's not really gonna help me too much. I mean, I could look to it as inspiration, or I can just be grateful for where I am right now, and respect the process. Number nine, lack of self-care. So this is tough for people that are high achievers because we feel a need to like accomplish more. I need to help more people. I need to raise more money for in my case, raise more money for nonprofits. I need to donate more. I need to, like, blah blah blah. Like, we all need to, quote unquote, be successful in order for my parents to be able to brag about how awesome my son is, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't care for yourself, you're gonna have a lot of money, but you're gonna have a big belly, and big belly. You're gonna be angry at your kids because, like, they're taking advantage of you and your kindness. So at the end of the day, like, make sure you take care of yourself and put yourself first. As selfish as that seems, everyone else benefits from it. And last but not least, not being able to ask for help. Right. This is probably the most number one self-sabotaging pattern, because our friends want to help us. Like, my mom wants to help me, right? My wife wants to help me. If I try to figure out my own, that's not going to help, because they don't know what's going on, right? So if I'm like, no, I'll figure it out on my own, not only are you isolating yourself, but your friends feel good when they help you out. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Hopefully these are great. These 10 tips are helpful for you. So in summary, a combination of setting boundaries, having self-compassion, um, be taking care of yourself, asking for help, not comparing yourself to, like, really, really successful people, right? But just seeing how far you've made it compared to last year or the year before that or 10 years ago. We all grow. Not taking on way too many commitments, perfectionism, fear of failure, right? And monitoring your negative self-talk and procrastination. These are the top 10 ways that we sabotage. Hopefully this is helpful. Write down which of the top 10 do you struggle with the most, and we can dig deeper into that. I mean, each one of these is its own video. So hope you enjoyed this content. Come back. I'm doing a lot more lives, and I love you guys. Cheers.